Under the moonlit sky of Gaza, a young fisherman gazes in awe as a mystical mermaid emerges from the waves, their fates intertwined by the endless sea. The Mediterranean waves kiss the shores of Gaza, rolling in with a rhythm as ancient as time itself. The sea had always been both a giver and a taker, offering life in its waters and swallowing dreams in its depths. For generations, the fishermen of Gaza had cast their nets into the vast blue, searching for a catch that would feed their families and fill their baskets with hope. Among them was Yusuf, a young man whose heart beat in sync with the tides. He had inherited his father's small wooden boat, a vessel worn by salt and sun, but still sturdy enough to brave the unpredictable waters. The sea was his life, his inheritance, his future. But the times had changed. The world had grown crueler, and the waters, once generous, had become barren. Restrictions kept them from venturing far, and every day was a battle against the sea, against hunger, against fate. One night, when despair pressed too heavily upon his shoulders, Yusuf rowed further than ever before, chasing the silver light of the moon. It was on that night that he saw her. And nothing in his life would ever be the same again. The call of the sea. The stars stretched across the sky like a fisherman's net, tangled with stories yet to be told. Yusuf exhaled, watching his breath merge with the salty night air. His boat bobbed gently on the waves, the lantern by his side casting a golden glow onto the rippling surface. It had been a fruitless day. His nets had come up empty, his hands raw from labor. There was little waiting for him at home, just an aging mother who depended on him, a younger sister with hungry eyes. He had failed them again. With a weary sigh, he let his hand drift into the water, his fingers trailing through the cool, whispering waves. Then, a shimmer, a glint of movement beneath the surface, too fluid to be a fish, too graceful to be mere water. Yusuf sat upright, his heart hammering. The sea was known for its tricks, for its illusions that danced in the moonlight. But this was something else. Then, before his very eyes, she emerged. A creature of myth. In the stillness of the night, Yusuf and Layla share a moment of quiet wonder, their worlds colliding beneath the starlit waters of Gaza. She rose slowly from the water, her silhouette shimmering in the dim lantern light. Yusuf sucked in a breath, his mind racing between disbelief and awe. Her hair, dark as the midnight sea, cascaded down her back, floating like ink in the water. Her eyes, luminous and deep, held the sorrow of 1,000 tides. And her tail, covered in iridescent scales, shimmered between shades of green and blue as it flicked gently beneath the waves. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then, in a voice as soft as the waves lapping against his boat, she asked, "You are not afraid?" Yusuf blinked, swallowing hard. "Should I be?" She studied him, tilting her head slightly, before the corner of her lips lifted in a wry smile. "Most men would try to catch me." He exhaled a laugh, more out of wonder than humor. "I am not most men." The mermaid's expression softened. "Then perhaps I have found the right one. A secret friendship." It started with curiosity. Each night, Layla, for that was her name, would return to the spot where the sea kissed Yusuf's boat, and they would talk. She told him of the underwater world hidden beneath the waves, of a kingdom ruled by currents and tides, where merfolk lived in both harmony and conflict. There were factions, just as there were among humans. Some merfolk longed to live alongside the people of the land, while others saw them only as invaders, creatures of war, bringing destruction even to the sea. Yusuf, in turn, told her of his own world, of Gaza, its shores lined with fishermen struggling to survive, of his family, his people, their endless longing for freedom. "You and I are not so different," Layla mused one evening, running her fingers through the water. "We are both prisoners of invisible barriers." It was true. Yusuf was trapped by the limits imposed on him, unable to sail freely, unable to dream beyond what the sea allowed. Layla, too, was bound by the laws of her own kind, exiled from her home for daring to believe in something different. And so, bound by fate, they became friends. Perhaps something more. The gathering storm. Chaos erupts on the shore as Layla is ensnared in a fisherman's net, her desperate struggle mirrored by Yusuf's fight to save her from those who see only a prize. Rumors began to spread. Yusuf had been careless. He had spoken too much, let his longing for Layla slip into conversations with the other fishermen. And in a land where survival often bred desperation, the thought of a mermaid, a creature of legend, of magic, became too tempting to ignore. One evening, as Yusuf approached the shore, he sensed it immediately: something was wrong. The village men stood in clusters, their voices low, their expressions dark. "The fisherman speaks of a woman from the sea," one of them muttered. Not just a woman, another whispered. A mermaid, a prize. A heavy weight settled in Yusuf's chest. They had heard, and they would come for her. That night, he raced to the shore, his heart pounding. But he was too late. Betrayal and capture. The net had already been cast. Layla's cries echoed through the night as rough hands dragged her from the water, her tail thrashing against the sand. Her beauty, once something to marvel at, had become a trophy in their eyes. Yusuf lunged forward, rage blinding him. You cannot do this, he shouted, shoving against the men. She is not yours, one of them sneered, tightening the ropes around her. She is a gift from the sea. Do you not see what she could bring us? Yusuf's hands shook with fury. She is not something to be owned. But greed had already poisoned their hearts. Layla's wide eyes found his, pleading, and in that moment, Yusuf knew, he would not let them take her. The wrath of the sea. The sea roars in defiance, freeing Layla from her captors as Yusuf stands at the edge of a choice that will shape his fate forever. The sea itself rose in fury. A sudden wave, massive and violent, crashed onto the shore, knocking the men to their knees. The sky darkened, the wind howled, and the water churned like a beast awoken from its slumber. Layla, summoning her last strength, tore free from her bindings. She reached for Yusuf. Come with me. For a heartbeat, he hesitated. The sea called to him, offering a life without borders, without war. But he could not abandon his people. Their gazes locked, and in that moment, she understood. With one final sorrowful glance, Layla vanished beneath the waves. Epilogue. The legend of Layla and Yusuf. Under the silent glow of the moon, Yusuf sits alone, his heart still tied to the sea, forever longing for the love that slipped beneath the waves. No one saw Layla again after that night. Some said she had disappeared into the endless sea, never to return. Others believed she still lingered beneath the waves, watching over Yusuf from the depths. As for Yusuf, he continued to fish, though his heart remained elsewhere, lost to the tides, to a love that could never be. And on quiet nights, when the moon was high, the fishermen swore they could hear a soft, haunting melody carried by the wind. A song of love, of loss, of a mermaid who once loved a fisherman.